Hi, everyone, and welcome to Seirim Cybersecurity Daily Report. Hi, Steven.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you today?
Great as well. Thank you.
So let's discuss the following news. Microsoft warns of payroll pirates hijacking HR SaaS accounts to steal employee salary. The next one, RondoDox from targeting own-to-own vulnerabilities to shotgunning exploits. And one more news that we're going to talk about is 7-zip vulnerabilities allowing remote code execution. Okay, let's start. Microsoft has issued a warning about a threat campaign called Payroll Pirates, run by a group named Storm 2657, which is targeting HR and payroll SaaS platforms such as Workday to hijack employee paychecks. Instead of exploiting software flaws, the attackers rely on phishing, adversary in the middle sites, and weaknesses in multi-factor authentication to steal credentials, gain access to email accounts, and pivot into payroll systems via single sign-on. Once inside, they secretly reroute salary deposits to bank accounts they control, set up inbox rules to hide alerts, and even register their own MFA devices for persistence. Since March 2025, Microsoft has observed 11 accounts across 3 US universities compromised, with nearly 6,000 additional email accounts targeted through follow-on phishing. To defend against this, Microsoft recommends organizations adopt phishing-resistant MFAs such as FIDO2 keys, monitor for suspicious device enrollments and inbox rules, and tighten identity security and employee awareness. This is pretty crazy, huh? People are wait for their salaries, but some of the salary could go to different people, right? So this is
Yes, it's
pretty
quite dramatic.
overwhelming.
Quite dramatic. It's notable in this case, they go straight for the money, right? In a lot of cases, we know they conduct ransomware and then extort for payment, but here they reroute money to their own accounts, right? So I think this
Yes.
case is notable in that it relies solely on social engineering and weaknesses or lack of multi-factor authentication, right? And that's just right at the core of training and user awareness, right? So anybody working in finance at these universities has to be aware that they are a target and to be extra careful for these phishing emails that they could be receiving. And it's a second takeaway for me that is super interesting, and you got to be aware of it always, that even after the attack, after they've done the switch to change the payroll salary payment to go to a different account, right? The attacker changed the email alerts in the victim's emails such that when the banking information was changed, that notification from the bank doesn't go back to the victim, right? So they put an email filter in there saying every alert coming in from the bank saying, hey, you changed something. Are you sure about that? All of those got to send to spam or hidden, and so the user would never see them. So that is a great indicator of compromise if you're out threat hunting, if you're looking for issues, if you're not aware that there could be issues in your company, but you're hunting for potential ones. Malicious changes in email filters could be a great place to look, right? If there's anything in there that's strange, why should some emails from my bank be sent to spam? You don't want that, right? So especially in the educational corporate environment, it's a great thing to look out for. That also applies for incident response as well. Even after this, you could find out this and clean it up. You got to go into the emails and look for that kind of alert to be changed back to how it should be. So now, in the education training aspects here that can prevent this phishing, false sense of urgency was used in the emails. So they were discussing illnesses and misconduct notices on campus to get these users to click on these links and download these malicious files that made this possible, right? And lastly here for me, this is a great use case for FIDO2 security keys and pass keys and multi-factor authentication generally, right? Because all of those could help prevent this. Because what the attackers did here, as it mentioned by Agadim, they used single sign-on, right? So since the user that they compromised was already signed in the single sign-on system, which I'm always skeptical of, right? Because once the attacker gets access to that user's workspace and accounts, they can go forward and forward through their privileges and accounts they have access to and cause this kind of havoc. So here's a big case for you have to have multi-factor authentication at every level for every account. So that that person, even if they get access at that one level, they cannot get further in, especially into that finance level, right? So that's where the multi-factor authentication or the pass key could have been valuable. Those are my takeaways. Thank you on that.
Yeah. And I would like to mention that I think employee training is also a good solution for that, right? So
Absolutely.
organizations should pay attention on employee training on cybersecurity, and this would be really great to avoid any vulnerabilities and prevent cyber attacks. Now let's talk about RondoDox. The RondoDox Botnet campaign has rapidly scaled into a shotgun exploitation effort, leveraging more than 50 vulnerabilities across more than 30 vendors in routers, DVRs, NVRs, CCTVs, web servers, and other internet-facing devices. What began with a vulnerability first demonstrated at own-to-own has evolved into a broader exploit service bundling RondoDox with payloads like Mirai or Mortar. Active exploitation is now observed globally, and several of the vulnerabilities targeted have been added to CISA's known exploited vulnerabilities list, raising urgency for patching. Because RondoDox uses many different exploits, defenders can't simply focus on one bug. Network edge devices with delayed patches or exposed services are prime targets.
This is a big attack and a big botnet getting created out there, creating a big risk for everyone. So this for me highlights the importance of always updating and patching equipment beyond workstations, right? So all routers and switches, all IoT devices, and any network facing equipment at all times, right? So another big takeaway for me is that this includes information from hackathons and demos. And I believe that you got to keep those events as part of your cybersecurity intelligence threat pipeline, right? Because if it's at one of these events, if it's shared there as this is a potential exploit that could occur, it's going to happen, right? So it's just a matter of time. So this one, they track it basically when it was shown at the events, it became an exploit. How much time later, right? It was actually a year in this case, but it can be faster, especially with AI, it can become faster quickly, even more than that. All right, so this will be boring, but I want to read out just in case someone's heading to work here and they might have one of these devices. I'm going to read out all the ones that were identified. I read this because you have to update and patch all of your devices no matter what, right? Because especially in this case, out of the nearly 6 security flaws, 18 of these don't even have a CVE identifier yet, right? So I don't know if they meet the standards of a 0-day, but they are not even categorized enough to have a CVE yet. So there is a lot of vulnerabilities out there. So devices include D-Link, TVT, Leland, FiberHome, Linksys, ByteValue, ASMax, BrickCom, IQ Router, Rycon, Nex, XT, Netgear, Apache, TPK, TotalLink, MedioBridge, DGEver, Edimax, QNAP, GNU, Dasan, Tenda, LB-Link, IveTech, Zyxel, High-Tech Inter, Belkin, Billion, and Cisco, right? So that is a lot of network equipment and other related devices out there. So if you have any of those, make sure you're updating and patching. All right, those are my
Yeah,
takeaways
that's
on that
very
one.
useful. Thank you for this list, and we will definitely make sure that the list is added to our description of this video. Okay, now let's talk about 7-zip vulnerabilities. Two newly disclosed vulnerabilities in 7-zip archive handling, tracked as CVE-2025-11001 and CVE-2025-11002, allow trackers to archive arbitrary code execution by abusing directory traversal flaws. Both issues stem from how 7-zip processes symbolic links within zip files. A malicious archive can include crafted symlinks that trick the extractor into writing files outside the intended folder, overriding critical system files, or planting payloads in sensitive directories. If such an archive is processed by a privileged service or automated system, the payload can later be executed with elevated writes, such as through scheduled task or DLL loading. Proof of concept exploits already demonstrate this risk, and because exploitation requires little user interaction, enterprise systems that automatically handle zip files, like file sharing servers or backup tools, are especially vulnerable. The flaws carry a CVSS score of 7.0, and researchers have warned that indicators of compromise may include unexpected DLLs in protected folders or suspicious zip entries with heavy path traversal sequences. 7-zip version 25.00 fixes the issue by enforcing strict path checks and blocking symlinks from escaping extraction directories.
Some potential risks out of this one. And basically, we mentioned this one just so everyone that hears this, just like as we mentioned the devices you might be using. We know a lot of developers and just general IT workers all use 7-zip, or many of them do. So if you do use 7-zip, update and patch it. It's pretty easy on the 7-zip.org website. You can download version 25 to fix this. It's especially critical, as she mentioned, if you're using it in an automated fashion, right? In file sharing servers or any backend tools, so where the thing is automated, right? The vulnerability here gives the risk that they can directory traversal, right? So they can get access to the data laterally and move across your whole data set there, right? So make sure all data is encrypted at rest and that you have segmentation of the data. It's in different areas and of networks, right? Because they could move laterally with this. So those are my quick takeaways on that one.
Thank you for that. That was very helpful. And I hope that our listeners will definitely use our recommendations. And thank you for watching and see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye-bye.